Hey guys, it's your loving and growing coach, Joy the Growth Coach, and I'm here with another podcast episode exclusively for you guys this month. So, for one, I gotta apologize definitely for not getting these two other podcast episodes out to you. They're sitting there, they gotta get done, but I just haven't had the time to do it. But before I get more into that, this episode, I want to apologize because the audio quality is a little bit basuda. Like, I truly, truly apologize. You know that I'm just getting better at, trying to edit, trying to work with the team now to bring my editing together. Shout outs to Eric. And really trying to get this audio and video thing mastered. So give me some grace here. I'm learning as we go, and we're trying to build the content for you guys to bring to you. So without further ado, here's the video.
So instead of looking at food not as a luxury, but more so as a necessity, it changes your perspective on what you eat. You don't eat for taste or for pleasure. You eat because you have to. You eat because it's sustenance. It keeps you alive. It keeps you going. Instead of you looking at food as I'll eat this because it tastes good. I'm going to eat this because my body needs this. If that makes any sense. Yeah, you'll also learn, especially if you actually do your research, the more bitter the food, the better it is, the more beneficial it is for you.
I've noticed, from me cutting out a lot of certain foods within my diet, I realized that having that sugar, people view that sometimes as a luxury. Food is always supposed to taste good. And I've noticed by eating with him, food is not always going to taste good.
No.
Welcome back to the Share It All podcast. I'm your loving and growing coach, Joy the Growth Coach, and I'm here with a friend of mine that I've known for almost 14 years, Roldy.
Hello, my name's Roldy. I've been an athlete all my life, inspiring philanthropist. What I mainly want to do is, educate people, especially in regards to financial literacy. One thing that sparked my journey is the disparities between, the Black community and other communities. And that's another thing I don't like. I don't like us being categorized as others, due to the fact that the disparities are extremely extravagant compared to Blacks, Latinos, Blacks, Asians, and all that other stuff. So us being grouped with others doesn't sit right with me. When I was writing my thesis, I had dived extremely deep into the financial aspects of our community. So that's where my work started, and now I am where I am.
Well, thank you. So today I have a special podcast episode because, as some of you guys know, I am going to get my master's in public health with the concentration of urban health disparities. And so what I plan to do with that is bring light and awareness to mental health and a lot of other health education opportunities and disparities that go along with that. So for a project that I have to do, an assignment more so, I decided to bring Roldy on, and we're going to talk about the Transtheoretical model. And I have a list of questions that I have to ask you, and we're just going to have a dialogue based off that. So that sounds cool to everybody? Cool?
No problem. I'm here for it.
So to give a little background text on why I chose Roldy, Roldy has been a vegan for 3 years now? 3 years? Okay. So, when we graduated, he at first went pescatarian, then he went vegetarian, and now vegan. So, along that journey that I've watched him go on, I've slightly learned some things along the way. And I just want to kind of get a backtrack on, why you kind of made that decision. But the first question is, when did you start thinking about changing your behavior?
So, originally in college, after I graduated, after I was done playing sports, I started to take a notice that my stomach, or the foods that I was originally consuming while I was an athlete, it wasn't sitting right, or it wasn't sitting the same. So then I started to cut out certain stuff. I cut out red meat, I cut out dairy, and I was on and off with the starches like rice, and pastas and stuff like that. So that's what started the journey. But also along the journey, I further educated myself on, some of the dietary, needs, as well as what kind of benefits certain things did to your body or gave your body. And that just made me go even further. So the research that I was doing also opened up my eye and showing me that some of the things that we ate or some of the things that we eat isn't conducive to our health at all. One being red meat is a carcinogenic, especially if it's heated. You can't eat raw meat. So the added fire or the added element of heat makes it even 10 times more detrimental to your health. So that also inspired me to, I guess, push other people in the same direction that I was going in and also further educate individuals.
I definitely can see, because he's also been trying to push me to eat more fruits and vegetables, which I'm the type of person that's really, really picky when it comes to me eating, so that's why I say that. But I can definitely agree. I remember the time around like 2019, I had stopped actually like drinking juice and stuff like that, so I had started to cut out sugar in that aspect, and then I started cutting out sugar, and I only like drink water. And then I started to stop eating fast food in 2019 as well, and I noticed how much that really changed like a lot of like my dietary, and I feel like I almost lost like 10 pounds. And then in 2020, I remember, because my acne was so bad, and I thought it was because of that. I think it was just the stress of COVID. I stopped eating sugar. So like those ideas of like, I think these things are affecting my health in this way, caused me to like change my behavior. So the next question is, what made you aware of the need to change your behavior?
Like I stated, I was eating the same thing, but I wasn't working out as much. So I started seeing a difference in my body, and I didn't like that. So, and not also not only my body, but also like my mental health. I wasn't coping. I wasn't handling stress the same way. Also, so
What do you mean by handling stress the same way?
like my hair was falling out. Um, I was gaining a whole bunch of weight. I wasn't sleeping the same. And it just I in my head, I just lost the drive. I just fell off, and I didn't know what it was. And plus, I'm also extremely goal oriented. I'm not sure if it was due to me not playing sports anymore or whatever the case may be, but I just lost the drive, and it didn't sit right with me.
Now, did you notice these effects ever like when you were like during your college career as well, since you were still eating meat, or just no?
A little bit, but it wasn't as noticeable to me. Um, so for college, it was it showed a little bit, but it wasn't as apparent.
Mm, okay. I think a lot of my stuff, which is kind of funny to say, started to be apparent when I was in college, but it was because I wanted to better myself because of the person I was with at the time. So I needed more clarity to look at the situation. And then after during like me graduating, I was just like, I can do this fun activity to see how that's gonna affect my thought process after. So I never really thought about like how I was eating during college, because I think you're just so focused on getting good grades. Yeah. You never have that time to like actually focus on like, what are you really putting in your diet. And I'm surprised, like for you, that wasn't something that you would really focus on, because like you have to get up at what 5, 6 o'clock in the morning to be in the gym, and then you have to go eat right after.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, when you're like looking at what you're eating in the calf, like that wasn't like ever noticeable to you?
It was, but like I said, I worked out, so it didn't affect my body to the extent where it was extremely noticeable.
So that's kind of like so like you graduating, you just realizing like how much were you working out like per month? Well, not per month, but like per week. Like that prompted your behavior to like be changed.
Yeah.
So how much during that time? How much were you like working out like 5-6 days a week, and how much?
5-6 days every day.
Every day
yes.
In college. All right. So like when you graduated, how much were you still working out?
That's another thing. I wasn't working out as much. I started working out. I worked out, I'd say 3 times a week. And gradually I made my way to 5 times a week. I usually take the weekends off, but my main target was to take one day off. So ideally, after graduating, I work between 5 to 6 days a week.
Now that since also FYI, we literally just came from the gym and we just set up to do this. So, now that it's 3 years later, do you still find yourself wanting to work out at least, 5 days a week? Because I know I work out with you at least 3 times a week.
For me, right now, it's not as essential, due to the fact that my diet takes care of all of my, needs in the sense of my figure as well as my health benefits or my health. So for me right now, it's not as essential. I do mainly work out 3 times a week due to me working out with you, but I'm also in works of inquiring with more clients.
That, but also like something that we talk about, because you take a lot of local transportation for work, you find yourself technically working out since you're like actually walking to work or like walking home and things like that.
That's another thing. I definitely be reaching my step goals.
Because you're also on your feet for work a lot of the time as well.
Yeah. That's another thing too. Me working as a chef also helped me view nutrition in a different aspect too. While I was in Florida for a year, I had to be extremely experimental because after a while, let's face it, eating the same fruits, it's not something that you want to do every day. You don't want to keep eating the same apples every day. You don't want to keep eating the same kale every day. So I had to be a little creative in terms of how I made my food, what kind of foods I ate, as well as what kind of foods I consumed and how I consumed it. So with that being said, I had to even dig a little deeper. I had to try, new fruits, new vegetables, new recipes, new seasoning. I had to dig into herbs. And that's another thing. I love using herbs in my cooking or in my cuisine because herbs have a whole bunch of health benefits and people seem to neglect it. It doesn't only provide taste, but herbs actually have some type of benefit. So that also added on to my health journey or my eating journey. So yeah.
Now I'm gonna ask more of like a mental question, like what did you necessarily do to prepare yourself to want to change your behavior? If you can go back and think in 2019 when you first made this decision, because I can think about when I first did it. For me, it was more like I was like, all right, if I plan out to just cut out juice for one day and whatnot, and I'm able to get past the stumbling block, maybe like I can continue to keep doing this. Like, so I just mentally thought about if I can get through the first day, I can get through the rest of the week. So what was like your preparation towards like changing this behavior to become from vegetarian to vegan or vegan completely?
So instead of looking at food as a I guess not what's the word I'm looking for? Not as a luxury, but more so as a necessity. It kind of changes your perspective on what you eat. You don't eat for taste or for pleasure. You eat because you have to. You eat because it's sustenance. It keeps you alive. It keeps you going. So instead of you looking at food as oh, I'll eat this because it tastes good. I'm going to eat this because my body needs this. If that makes any sense.
Okay. I definitely can see what you're talking about because I've noticed, like, from me cutting out a lot of certain foods within my diet, I realized that, like, having that sugar, people view that sometimes as a luxury. Like, food is always supposed to taste good. And I've noticed by eating with him, food is not always going to taste good.
No.
This morning, for prime example, he made me try oat milk and agave. And it was the weirdest taste. Then, after we got done working out, he made me try grapefruit. The most horrifying taste I've ever experienced in my life. So when you kind of have to start changing your mind to like actually understand like the substance that's in food and how like it's a means to an end so you can be healthier and live longer, I definitely can see where you're talking about that. Because yeah, not all food supposedly is going to taste lovely.
Yeah, you'll also learn, especially if you actually do your research, the more bitter the food, the better it is, the more beneficial it is for you.
Be honest, that's gonna be hard for me to get over.
Truth be told, fruits are one of the exceptions due to the fact like fruits are meant to wash out your body is supposed to provide your body with liquid, with sugar, so that your body can actually function, for your cells to actually function. But in terms of bitterness is to help promote your health. Like let's say, for example, if you have a stomach ache, you would lean more towards greens, like example, mint. Mint without adding sugar into mint isn't that sweet. It's actually pretty bitter. So it's just the dynamics of vegetables and fruits.
Y'all see my face. I ain't get past the it tastes horrible part. I'm a work in progress and I understand that.
Like a big child.
And you know what? I'm okay with that. We'll get there. We are working. I just turned 25.
A grown ass baby. Oh, excuse my language.
Hear me out. I just turned 25. And by the time this probably goes out, this will go out next week. But like, I just turned 25 and just realizing that, you know, there's a lot of foods I haven't ate my entire life. And there's a lot more foods I need to learn how to eat. I ain't get past that part and like understanding the food dynamics yet. Because I was very picky as a child. We're getting there. I'm a work in progress. Me trying 2 things today is progress. Is it not?
I forced it. You wouldn't have hit me up, asked me, oh,
No,
don't forget
I
about
said
the
to you
oat milk.
on Wednesday.
But you wouldn't have, you literally would not have reminded me. If I didn't remember,
Roldy,
you would have just let it go
20
on.
minutes before I came and got you.
You would have just let it go under the bridge. Even if you remember, you would never have brought it up. And we both know this, but go off. Go off, sis. That's all I got to say.
Anyways, how did you overcome any setbacks when you tried to change your behavior?
I just had to keep it real with myself, not to, stereotype or anything like that or promote, toxic masculinity, but I just had to say, man up, like, man up. You have to you are your best friend, but you are also your worst critic. You have to be able to dish out, not insults, but you have to be able to dish out or critique yourself in a fashion where it's not going to completely bring you down, but also you have to provide yourself with incentives as well as rewards for good behavior or certain goals or certain achievements. That really helped me. After a while, I wasn't being honest with myself, and I started lacking. yeah, I found myself just consuming a whole bunch of carbs, starches, stuff like that, and then I realized I'm getting fat, and I'm like, wow, I've never seen a fat vegan. So, so yeah. So with that being said, I just had to keep it a buck with myself, and said, no, you need to tighten up.
I definitely can agree to some degree to that. I've never been overweight. I've always been skinny. So to counteract yours, I would say for me it was that I was always too skinny. So now, since working out with him, this on November 8th it'll be 3 months. And learning to build that consistency with working out, like I see for one the weight gain, I see the muscle tone density, and like I just really had to woman up and be like, do you want to constantly keep complaining about that you're too skinny, or you're not eating healthy, or you're wondering why your face is breaking out, or you're wondering why like all these things are happening? Like it's just a level of maturity and accountability that I had to give to myself, and it's a hard thing to typically do. And when you do have setbacks of like being sick for a week, because I was sick for a week, it was like the motivation to still get up and remember it's not sometimes about you, it's about the others that you're affecting or impacting. Because with this platform and with my social media, like I never realized how many I'm impacting by just getting up every morning and just either actually going to get my master's degree or going to work, or even like impacting you because we go to the gym together. If I stumble, it makes everybody else around me sometimes stumble as well. So you have to remember, I think, that it's not always about you, it's about everybody else that you're around.
And that's another thing I also want to touch bases on. They We aren't creatures who are meant to be selfish. We're not meant to live by ourselves. We're not meant to just be isolated. We are social creatures, and we genuinely feel better about ourselves when we live for others. And it's taking me a not well, it hasn't taken me time to realize that, but it's just sometimes you could lose sight of that with everything that's going on, handling life, working, and trying to achieve certain goals. So honestly, I'm honestly content with being a nice person, just saying thank you, saying please, and just, trying my best to put good out there.
In which you kind of just jumped into the other question, which was how did your family and friends support you as you changed your behavior? But it sounds like to me that like you had to realize when living for others and living for your family is what kind of motivated you to want to live healthier and want to be a vegan and things like that.
Yeah, because information obtained is useless unless it's given out.
Yeah. And I can certainly say that, like, in the past 3 years since you've been vegan, you have tried, which I've been stubborn for about 2 of those years, 100%. You've tried to always, get us to definitely eat better or think about like how much physical activity we do. And we have a group chat, like, and you're always the main one in the group chat, like, so who's trying to go to the gym today or who's trying to work out? And I'm just like, I always had every excuse in the book for 2.5 years of why I couldn't work out. But no, I definitely can say with your veganism and with, you taking your health more seriously, I do see how it has affected all of us. Because majority of us have actually, we go to the gym at least 3 times a week or 5 times a week, or we do some type of work in our day-to-day job that actually makes us like physically work out. But then I think as we're getting older, we're starting to think about more what we do eat, which is a beneficial factor. But how does that impact your family?
Well, for me personally, I've, educated them on meat consumption. Um, I haven't tried. I've been pushing them to, consume more fruits and vegetables. I've been pushing them to be a little bit more self-conscious of what it is that they consume. So I mean, like that saying says, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So I'm just doing what I can.
I definitely can see that. And I think I've seen it a lot within, like, I've seen it in what Ellison eats, for prime example. Because when we were at the birthday party recently, I saw like how much he eats and like how his girlfriend at the time, that's his girlfriend, right? Like how she made his plates a little different. I also know that you talk about it. You talked to me about how your mom is starting to try and inquire eating more like vegan dishes. I noticed how influential your behaviors have been now, not only for your immediate friend group, even the people that you've dated, but also it's affected some of our parents. And I know it's affected, most parents, especially Meme's parents. And I'm not gonna be soon surprised if you go after my mom with that as well. But you've definitely even had an impact on the older generation when it comes to health and wellness. So do you want to talk about maybe how like you've been supporting of others, even that's 2 or 3 generations older than you, based off your behaviors?
So what I've come to the realization is that our parents, they live for us. They learn from us. The same way that we learn from them through their behaviors, they learn from us too. So if they see you making an honest effort, or if they see you being extremely self-conscious of what it is that you're doing, and you have a conversation with them and you tell them and educate them, they're not gonna be, I guess, as opposed to making that transition. What I've come to the realization is that our parents learn from us more than we actually think. So, and especially if you just have simple little conversations, you just tell them, you just provide them some educational facts, stuff like that. They're actually going to make that honest or that conscious effort to do better. So don't don't have that same perspective of your parents or of adults that you did when you were a child, because you're an adult too. Adults have conversations with other adults. So yeah, just completely scrap that stigma that just because somebody's has a or is a authoritative figure that they can't learn from you.
I can definitely agree to that extent. Um, I've noticed that with the older generation, they have to see things to believe things versus us. We're the type of individuals where it's like, all right, we don't have to see it to believe it, but it's like, what's the facts? What's the proof behind it? And things like that. And also, if it can be conducive with the lifestyle in which we have, we're more likely to complete it. With them, it's like they have to have seen it over a period of time. You do it, and it not only has to be conducive to their lifestyle, it has to be financially effective for their lifestyle as well. So I find them doing that more often. But overall, do you feel like you have finally changed your behavior and you feel like you're never going back to like either vegetarian or pescatarian or anything like that?
No. I I choose so I'm not gonna classify myself as vegan, vegetarian, but I will say that my diet consists predominantly of natural fruits and vegetables, plants. So I'm not gonna restrain myself or restrict myself to just one category. Um, Truth be told, I would eat meat, but mainly like if I'm outside of the country, because the United States, the regulations are absolutely horrendous. Um, but if it's outside of the country, I would definitely be open, but um that restriction is still there in regards to red meat to a certain extent. Like let's say if I'm in just an example, let's say if I'm in Africa and one of their delicacies is, I guess, boiled steak or something. I'm going to be willing to I'm open to trying it, but doesn't mean I'm gonna constantly keep eating it. I'm not one of those extremely anal individuals where it's, oh, I'm just gonna be doing this. That's it. Point blank. Period. I'm extremely open minded. I'm flexible. I just know what I'm putting into my body.
Okay. So you think, like, not that more so while you're on United States grounds, but like you think because of the effects of meat within the United States and the carcinogenic effects that it has on the human body, and like how they're probably pumping a lot of what is it? GMOs, not fertilizers, but I'm trying to think of the exact word. I can't think what it is. They're just pumping a lot of stuff into the foods that the hormones. There we go. They're pumping a lot of hormones into either the foods that the cows are eating or the chickens are eating, or all those things. That's kind of the factor of why like you're choosing to kind of stay away from meat. But if a lot of things outside the United States are grown a lot more healthy, and they're not taking a lot of more hormones in their food, and they're typically grown by more natural farmers. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You said a lot.
Yeah, they're not. They're like say if we go to Brazil, their foods are, and their animals are not groomed different, not grown differently, but like what they put in their foods is a lot different than what we would consume in our food.
Yeah, it's definitely more natural.
So like that's kind of the reason why you're more open and susceptible to eating like the chicken or like the beef or things like that's out there.
Yes and no, because once again, I'm not gonna be ignorant and say their food's gonna be better than ours. Like I said, there's a whole bunch of different factors, but I'm personally just saying that I would be a little bit more open, or I guess a little bit less restrictive in other countries due to me knowing that their governments actually have more restrictions in regards to with the chemicals and the stuff that they are allowed to put in their foods.
Makes sense. All right, now down to our final question. Roldy, how are you still successfully today maintaining your behaviors?
Maintaining my behaviors.
Yes, around veganism, around staying healthy, mentally, and all those other factors of working out.
I don't know. So
what do you mean you don't know?
I don't know in the sense of like I don't think about it. I focus on what I have to do. For example, if I feel like my back is hurting, but it's not my back, like it's more internal, then I know that my body is deficient in something. 9 out of 10 times, it's probably you need a detox or you need water or something to hydrate you. So I'm just, I guess, more like conscious of my body. You're like literally your body will tell you exactly what it needs and how it needs it and when it needs it. So I don't focus on it. It just happens. You see what I mean?
Yeah. So you're focusing more on the feeling, less on the behavior then that affects the feeling.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. I can definitely, I don't say I can relate to that. I think I focus a lot more on the behavior for me, because I can care less about my feelings. The reason I say it like that, because it's like if I start thinking more with my feelings, I'm more susceptible to mess up at one point or another.
It's not feelings though. You see what I mean? So
like if I'm feeling back pain, for me to prime example work out, that's more or less likely for me to get up and continue my behavior of knowing the fact that I have to go to the gym 3 times out of the week, because we took 1 week off for Parkinson's because I was sick. And then Monday, you gave us a lovely workout. And it's Friday, and parts of my leg is still hurting. So if I focused on the feeling Wednesday and today of like, this is painful, I'm not going to go work out at all.
I think you are definitely misconstruing what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because I'm not focusing, like, okay, for example, if I don't work out for 2 weeks, my joints ache.
Okay.
So that's my body saying you need to do some form of physical activity.
Okay.
So I'm not talking about soreness is literally weakness leaving the body. That is your muscle getting stronger. That's exactly what soreness is. It's just your body just, the muscle fibers in your muscle, the muscle fibers in your muscle. Yeah, the muscle fibers are literally tearing and reconstructing themselves. That's what soreness is. So soreness doesn't hurt. It's just annoying. Like, hurting is breaking a bone. Hurting is tearing a muscle. That's hurting. Soreness isn't hurt. There's different.
I think that's subjective.
Yeah, to the weak-minded.
Subjective. Because I remember when I first started going to the gym, it took me 2 weeks to not be in pain anymore.
Exactly.
No, but that's because I had not worked out in almost, we're not going to talk about how long I haven't worked out in. That's
years. But
no, it hasn't been years. The last time prior was in 2021 in October. So it was 10 months.
A year.
Exactly.
Okay.
It wasn't years.
Okay. Well, excuse me, a year. But no, like, it only took you 2 weeks. That's good.
2 weeks for the pain to start lessening.
Okay.
It took a month. It probably took a full month for me not to feel any pain at all.
Okay. That's regular.
Anyways, I think the thing when it came to just the pain, for me, it was just a mental thing. Like, once I can get over that aspect of it being a mental, it was easier for me to just, like, be motivated to still want to go to the gym as well. And then as you're building to, like, hopefully this doesn't cut off, but, yeah. As you continue to keep building, it doesn't hurt as much. I would say that much. But I'm gonna wrap up before this stops recording. Thank you, Bestie, for coming on to the podcast. I genuinely appreciate it. I would definitely link down below where you can find him. Also, if you're ever looking for a financial consultant, he's your guy. Or anything business related, he's your guy. I'll link all his stuff down below. But do you have any final words?
No, it was a pleasure, sharing my experiences and, providing much needed information in regards to, taking better care of yourself.
Yes. Till then, guys, I will see you guys soon. Adios. Bye.
Bye.